A few days ago, I asked my followers on Instagram what topic they would like me to cover in my upcoming YouTube video. After reading as little as the first dozen replies, I began to see a pattern. A handful of topics kept reappearing, such as Asta's character, Mipha's love, the Triforce, and a couple more. Of course, an Age of Calamity Z-Link theory was also highly requested, and you'll be happy to know that I am planning to make a video that solely focuses on the relationship between Link and Zelda. But not today. Today, we are looking at a topic that has been covered by a few other Zelda tubers. Zelda's mother. Or more specifically, the death of Zelda's mother. However, I am going to approach this topic from a completely different angle and propose the hypothesis that the Queen's death, the foundation for said theories, is pure deception. In other words, Zelda's mother is still alive. Yes, I know, the death of the Queen is confirmed by the King, but just hear me out. In King Rome's diary, found within Hyrule Castle, he writes down that Zelda was 6 years old when her mother passed away. Now here's what caught my attention. He states that Zelda did not cry, not when she hears the news, not at the funeral, not even later on when she's alone. King Rome describes her behavior as strong and promising, but just think about the situation. A 6-year-old child loses her mother, her mentor and teacher, and possibly her best friend, and doesn't shed a single tear? Of course, even in our world, there are people who only rarely cry, but Zelda's character is known for her very amplified personality. Here's what I mean by that. Take any important character from Breath of the Wild or Age of Calamity and identify their character traits. Most of them will be very defined. For example, Rome is presented as a stubborn leader who takes his duties extremely seriously. He doesn't ever joke around, he's very collected. Now take a character like Robbie, a young Sheikah who's overly energetic, optimistic, and very humorous. He's never shown in despair or all seriousness, even when the world is falling apart. That's what I mean when I say that each character has their own very defined behavior. But Zelda is a bit more complicated. She has an entire set of well-developed moods and emotions, making her the most authentic and relatable character. While she is premature and serious at most times, she's also projected with feelings of joy, embarrassment, anger, and she doesn't shy away from showing her frustrations and tears. You heard that right, Zelda cries. A lot, probably more than we know. I'm not saying her tears are unreasoned. The times we see her cry are always shortly after losing someone in battle, be it her friends, her father, her crush, but do you notice something? Every time she loses a loved one, she cries. That's why I'm thinking that Zelda's mother did not die, and Zelda knows it. Ergo, she didn't cry. Obviously, this is not the only reason to bring up such a far-fetched theory. What do we really know about the Queen? Thanks to the recent release of the Hyrule Warriors game Age of Calamity, we at least know what the Lake Queen looks like. But if you haven't played the game and don't want to be spoiled, skip to this time right here. You've been warned! When Zelda feels downhearted, Terako, the tiny time-traveling guardian, plays a melody, a lullaby, that takes Zelda back to her childhood. During these short memories, we find out that Zelda's mother was interested in ancient research and most likely helped Zelda build Terako to be by Zelda's side when her mother could not. Zelda glances up to a slim woman, wearing the royal dress we know all too well, and calls her Mother. There's no doubt that this is the Queen. Unfortunately and conveniently enough, the image fades away before we get to see her face. But this is not all. Within Hyrule Castle, in the Great Hall, stands a statue of a royal couple. This is the first time we get an idea of what the Queen may look like. Still, we can't ignore the fact that this could be a previous Queen and King, especially because King Rome looks very different, even when Zelda was still young. So it's not confirmed that these are Princess Zelda's parents. Still, it's a neat and much appreciated detail. In addition, Age of Calamity gives us a hint at why Zelda believes that her mother is still alive, even if it's not in Hylian form. In one of her memories, Zelda wanders the castle grounds at night when a large blue shooting star whizzes by and she calls it Mother. This looks too much like Nehru, as seen in previous Zelda games such as Ocarina of Time, A Link to the Past, Twilight Princess, and Skyward Sword. Nehru is the goddess of wisdom, which is the piece of the Triforce Zelda holds in other Zelda games. While this is very intriguing, Zelda remains an incarnation of the goddess Hylia and is not related to Nehru. Be that as it may, I could see a connection between Nehru and the ancient technology Zelda and her mother explored. Nehru's Love is a recurring spell in the Zelda series. It's a spell that Link can use in Ocarina of Time to prevent damage due to enemies' attacks. A blue diamond-shaped shield appears and protects Link temporarily. Sound familiar? Perhaps the Queen had told Zelda stories about the goddesses and their powers and history. That's why Zelda associates a blue shooting star with her mother. Especially if they were still communicating, it makes sense that Zelda would believe her mother could be in any shape or form, even if it's divine or celestial. We know that it is the royal family's tradition to name their firstborn girl Zelda, so we can assume that the Queen's first name was Becky. I'm just kidding, it's Zelda. We also know that the powers are passed down through bloodline. This is confirmed by Princess Zelda herself at the Spring of Courage, where she says that her grandmother heard voices from the spirit world and that her mother also wielded the sacred sealing powers, which would eventually show within the young princess. Some people suggest that only one person with the powers can be alive at a time and that's why the Queen had to die. But what if that's wrong? If that was the case, then the Queen's mother would have passed pretty early as well, and after only a few generations in the past it would have become an ordinary and expected tragedy that the previous keeper of the powers would die shortly after giving birth to the female. The king would certainly not have called his wife's death unexpected and sudden if this was a known consequence. So I believe it's quite possible that two Hylians with the goddess's blood can be alive at once. Besides, if only one Zelda can be alive, the Queen would have most likely died during childbirth and not 6 years later out of nowhere. Here's the thing. Only a few characters mention the Queen, two of them being the husband King Rome and the dear friend Urbosa, neither of which describe the cause of death. Some theories suggest that the Yiga assassinated the Queen, but I'm sure Urbosa would have said so in her diary entry. What she does talk about is the funeral. She said that Zelda stayed strong as they laid the Queen to rest. As harsh as it is, this sounds like there was a body they buried. But it doesn't have to be. A deceased person whose body remains missing is often given a funeral despite the circumstances. After all, funerals are for the living, not for the dead. It's for the loved ones, so they can say goodbye. What I'm trying to say is that the Queen's body was never found. She was just presumed dead due to her unresolved disappearance, and neither the king nor Urbosa knew what truly happened to her. So what happened to the Queen? Where is she? There are a couple of possible answers to this. We know that she liked to travel the lands of Hyrule to study ancient relics. Sometimes she'd even bring Zelda along. The king seems to move freely around the castle without any escorts, and while I can't speak with certainty, there is a chance that the Queen would travel on her own as well. So what if, one day, she just didn't come home? The kingdom searched and searched, but no sign of life could be found anywhere. Until, many moons later, the knights and the king gave up hope. A funeral was held to honor the Queen and everyone mourned over the loss of their leader and protector. The king, a man of logic and realism, accepted the tragic fact that his Queen was no longer. Zelda, however, was merely affected by grief, for she believed that her mother was still alive. Zelda may have written down that her mother passed away, but remember, this diary entry was written a decade after the incident, give or take, and if a child was told over and over that her mother is dead, eventually she would believe just that and forget what truly happened. This is a common issue and a blessing when it comes to trauma. Repressing unpleasant memories often happens when a person goes through a deeply disturbing experience. While this could be the case, I tend to think that the cause for Zelda's memory loss lies in the passing of time and the frequent confirmation of her mother's death that was drilled into Zelda's mind over years on end. Zelda was only 6 years old when her mother didn't return home. But what happened to her and where is she now? Like I said, most other theories blame the Yiga clan and say that the Queen was sacrificed to resurrect Ganon. While I am claiming that Zelda's mother could be alive, I'm not necessarily disagreeing with those other theories. The Yiga is the main suspect here, but what if they didn't sacrifice the mother right away? What if, on a trip to the Gerudo Desert to visit her dear friend Urbosa, the queen was attacked by Yiga foot soldiers? Even if the queen had been escorted by knights, Yigas are clever. They can shapeshift, teleport, and are extremely skilled when it comes to close combat as well as on distance. So it wouldn't be surprising if the Yiga had abducted the queen and left the knights to think she was dead. Now the Yiga have what they wanted. They may be foolish but not unintelligent. They thought that the princess had the sealing powers, so they feared that if they sacrificed the queen and awakened Ganon right away, Zelda would just seal them away. That's why the Yiga was so determined to kill the princess. If Zelda was out of the picture, no one could be able to stop them. However, as much as they tried, Zelda now had the chosen hero by her side, a young, courageous swordsman who would protect her and follow wherever she went. So instead of attacking mindlessly, they waited patiently for her to be left alone. Since they can shapeshift, who knows how many times they were close to her, watching her without anyone's suspicion. As it turns out, Zelda was not as gifted as they had expected. After some close observations, it was clear that she had not yet awakened her powers. When Zelda returned from the Spring of Power, Courage, and Wisdom without any success, it was clear to the Yiga that she was no longer a threat to their malicious plan. That's when they awakened Ganon, showing confidence that Zelda did not carry the blood of the goddess. This question may be easier to answer than you think. As we know, Zelda can communicate with others by telepathy. We see this multiple times when she guides Link after his 100-year-long slumber. If she can do this, it's more than likely that her mother could too. She could have told Zelda that she's still alive and that she must not worry. This way, Zelda would stay safe and hope for the kingdom remained. Another theory I would like to throw out there explores the possibilities of the Queen in disguise. Zelda and her mother both had the gift of enhanced premonition, the feeling that something bad was about to happen. Masterworks confirms this and Urbosa's diary entry supports this idea. The Queen knew something others didn't. Something dark was heading their way, a horrifying truth that only she alone bore. Perhaps it was her abduction that she feared, or worse, maybe she knew that the Yiga clan planned to assist Ganon to the throne. If she knew that her blood would be the key to Ganon's resurrection, she may have planned to disappear for a while and live in secret, while everyone, including the Yiga, assumed she had passed. Being unable to use the goddess's blood to resurrect Ganon could explain why he was unable to take his real form and was shown as pure malice, followed by some half-done creature that consists of Sheikah parts. This sounds like it could be great material for Breath of the Wild's sequel, where Link and Zelda seek the Queen for help and find Ganon's true body. But the major issue I see with this is that Zelda's mother could have tried to guide her daughter and help her awaken her powers. Remember, these are just theories and I'm not claiming that they're right. On contrary, I'm open to other ideas. It's always interesting to approach a topic that has already been covered from a totally new angle. It appears that Nintendo is deliberately trying to get us a bit more familiar with the Queen. Compared to past Zelda games, we've been given a lot of background information on the Queen, even if so much still lies hidden. I hope you liked this video, and if you have supporting or contradicting points, just leave a comment below or send me a DM on Instagram where I post my Zelda fan art and comics. I also recently started a series where you, the reader, decide how the story continues. It's like a decision-based game that takes place right after the final scene of Age of Calamity to give us fans some closure. So check it out if you're interested in that kind of stuff. Thanks for watching today's video. Your support means everything to me and I can't wait to make that sealing theory. Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to all of you. See you soon.